And, the big thing is not to make a mistake that'll mess up your retirement.
Sure.
You retired in January and you're pulling $30,000 out of a $500,000 portfolio and it's all in the market, and now that 500 is 400, and you're pulling 30 a year out or whatever. Yeah, that's messing things up.
Sure.
Welcome to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Anchored in family values, Wayne offers practical advice to help you get the most out of your retirement years. For more information, visit today'sretirees.com. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. We hope and trust that you are doing well and your heart is working well with the all the financial news that's going on in the world. Inflation's 9 point something.
Yeah.
Stock market's down 80%. I mean, not really, but it's down a lot.
Yeah, I mean, S&P's 30, as we record this, 3,600-ish.
Okay.
It was at 47-ish, 48.
Right.
Dow's down to 29 something.
Okay.
So
now, are we officially in what they call the bear market?
Yeah, I would say we're in that bear correction, bear pullback. I thought you were going to say recession for a minute, so that's why I hesitated.
Well, people are using that word.
Oh, geez.
And I mean, just like any time you buy a fund or a stock, it says past examples or past performance doesn't always mean what's going forward.
Yeah.
But you've been telling us for 10 years that this always happens.
Yeah, I mean the market ebbs and flows over time. I mean it's just what it does, and it's weird how people forget, and they have high expectations, and they just don't think it's going to go back down again, which I don't understand that. I mean, I just don't understand that train of thought. Now, granted, before this year, we had 3 really good years of market performance, kind of like unprecedented years. So people see their growth. They're pulling money out. Their portfolio's still growing. They got more than before they pulled the money out. And, it's just they get in a mindset and forget that a market pullback, can and most likely will happen because that's what it does.
Sure, and we've seen this historically for generations.
Since the market started,
it's up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
Do you think that some folks got complacent where we had unprecedented growth for 15 years or so with just a couple of little dips in there?
I mean, some did, and they experienced pullbacks that recovered quickly, like COVID of 2020 in March. The market was down big in a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then it came back, so they're like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
Sure.
And they get, kind of like fearless until now.
Right.
Right? Then those people are freaking out.
Sure.
They're concerned, and some are getting out. And that's really, we call this a health restoring correction. It does get rid of the people that are in the market that shouldn't be.
Okay.
Which is one of the good things about a health restoring correction.
Now, when you say that shouldn't be, they're just not able to handle the risk emotionally, or they just should never have started. They just all gamble money.
Well, I mean, or both, or
right.
A variation of either or.
Right.
But it's how they're handling it now that's a good kind of litmus test of should they even be in the market.
Sure.
Right. If they're nervous and anxious, losing sleep or considering getting out, that's a good sign that they should have never been in. And potentially, when the market does rebound, they need to get out.
Okay.
They should get out. They shouldn't be in the market.
Right.
I mean, you can't be in the market if you can't handle these pullbacks.
And you can't predict what it's going to do next week. I mean, it might jump back up, but it doesn't look good for the near future.
Well, if I don't know if you'll remember, Rich, but back in February on this show, I talked about the off-presidential election years.
Correct.
History shows in off-presidential election years, when the markets were down in January for that year, which it was this year, that we should expect some turmoil. I mean, it's World War II. There's been like 30 similar situations, so we should expect that.
Sure.
But, the average gain during those 30 years, though, by the end of the year was like 4%. So we had a lot of volatility. We had a market correction in the middle, pullback, health restoring correction. Right? Corrections aren't always that bad. I mean, it's healthful to the market. But the markets have wound up. I mentioned right here that we should expect that. Not that we can time the market or anything, but just looking at history. We have 30 plus instances or years of the off-presidential election years, and then when they're down in January, that's what happens. Volatility with a big pullback, but adding a note, by year end, the average gain of the market for those years was 4%.
Okay,
so the market still wound up.
Okay.
Even though we had a ton of volatility and big pullbacks or corrections.
Sure. So if, like you just said, the S&P is down roughly, in round numbers, 1,000 points, by the end of the year, if history repeats, it should be back up 47, 48, somewhere in there.
Yeah, or more. Yeah,
or more.
We're pushing 5,000.
Yeah.
So that's expected. At least from my sources, which we've talked about. I've sources that I've been following for 20 years. And they're, they look at all these historical numbers, and it's important to look at that and not just go on what's on the news or your feelings or emotions or.
Sure.
Yeah. So, people have to be careful and not panic right now.
Right.
I mean, and if they considered getting out. Once the market pulls back, get out and just don't go back in the market. Settle for your safe money returns, 3%, 4%, 5%, whatever.
Sure, and that's actually good advice, very good advice. You mentioned the news. If you're paying attention to the news, it's always, the newscasts are designed to invoke fear in people. They seem to me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just look at COVID, right? And now which we'll talk about on the other side of the break here, the recession, the big R word. And should we really be afraid of a recession right now?
Sure. All right. Well, friends, when we get back, we'll talk about some of that. Listen, go to Wayne's website. You can go back and look at the program that he just mentioned back in February. You go to his website at todaysretirees.com, todaysretirees.com, and from there you can link to his YouTube channel. You can look at these shows that he has produced for the last several years, and you can look at those and go back to February, and you can see what he's talking about. Off-year elections and what you can theoretically, history is what it is, but it give you an idea of what we might expect for the rest of 2020, which if you're watching, and we were talking about this before we came on the air, Bitcoin is, these cryptocurrencies are falling through the floor.
You mean 2022, right?
What did I say?
2020.
Oh,
yeah, that was a bad year, but we're through it.
Yeah, we did get through that, didn't we? Yeah, I'm sorry, my brain's not in full gear today. But we'll be back right after this, and we'll talk about the big R word.
We've all heard the word rollover when referring to an investment account at work or your 401k, your 403b, your 457 plan. What do you do with that when you've left your job and your 401k or other retirement plan is still at your old employer? Or what if you've retired? One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to leave your money, your retirement account, in your employer's 401k. Quite frankly, your old employer or current employer is the boss of your retirement account. So if you have questions about what to do with your rollover, you roll it to Wayne. Get it in your own hands where you have the whole universe of investments and choices, not just what your employer tells you can pick from. So contact my office for a free consultation on how to roll over your old retirement account.
And welcome back to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. When we took our break, we were talking about, the market volatility and all of the things that are taking place as you are sitting there at home and watching. And hopefully you are not the person who, gets up in the morning and the first thing you do is fire up the computer and see what the numbers are this morning.
Yeah, they probably are. Most people are nowadays.
But, you've told us, and if you've paid attention to your program, you don't have to live, if you plan it well, you don't have to live with the anxiety that comes with.
Yeah, we always talk, about safe risk ratios and having portions safe. Especially if you're pulling income off your portfolio, you don't want to be pulling income from your market monies right now. Because as you liquidate your shares to free up your income or your withdrawals, you're liquidating more shares at a lower price. It takes more shares to cover the same $1,000 a month or whatever you're pulling. So you have to have the flexibility to be able to stop that and pull from somewhere else during market pullbacks.
Now, when we left, we were talking about the big R word. There are folks. And I saw a little clip with our, Mrs. Yellen is the Treasury Secretary right now?
Yes.
And
she's pretty sharp, huh?
She was saying that in all likelihood, my paraphrase of what I heard this morning was there probably was not going to be a recession, and if it was going to be very short-lived.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. She's getting kind of on board a little late, Just, I think things happened quickly that she didn't think would happen so quick. But one of the keys of recession, or an indication of recession, is the inverted yield curve. The T-bill versus the 10-year Treasury bond. And that's not inverted currently, and it's not close to be inverted. So that's kind of one of the real keys that people keep an eye on that may indicate an upcoming recession.
Okay.
So there's also, you're going to hear a lot about the 2-quarter negative growth or pullback in the economy. And that's one of the signs, of course. But it doesn't mean if we have 2 quarters in a row, we're in a recession. It's that inverted yield curve that you want to keep an eye on.
Okay. And what are the folks that you listen and read, your advisors, what are they thinking? What are they saying about a recession?
Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. I kind of, share with you what I get from them.
Sure, okay.
And, if they were indicating a recession, I would certainly talk about it on the show, and then, you have to plan for it. You should be planning for it all the time. As we talked about before, this stuff happens.
Right.
There are, pullbacks. There's inflation. There's recessions. There's wars. There's fraud going on in businesses and industries that get exposed, and then people freak out and markets crash in those sectors or industries. It happens all the time. So, when you have a diversified portfolio and you have true asset allocation, and you have plenty of cash in your savings, you should always have plenty of backup. And you have a percentage of safe money that isn't affected right now by negative markets.
Sure.
That money isn't going backwards. Only thing that's going backwards is people that had money in the markets.
Okay.
And the more aggressive you were, the more pain you're feeling. It's kind of an anomaly now, what's going on. We've also had, the interest rate increases. So we actually have, bonds are supposed to add stability in market pullbacks. Well, bonds are losing money now, or have been throughout the year. So we have bonds losing money and equities losing money. It's kind of a double whammy, but hopefully short-lived, like we talked about earlier. And you just have to be able to not be pulling out from your market monies now.
Sure.
So it's reverse compounding. We talk about compound interest, how important it is over time. Well, reverse compounding is when your values are going backwards and you're withdrawing from the accounts.
Sure. Yeah, that makes it doubly difficult.
Yeah, you're going backwards twice as fast.
Well, like you said earlier, if you have a fund that was worth $100 and now it's worth 50, and you have to pull out 10, you're really hurt.
Yeah, and then do it again next month or next quarter or next year. You have to have in your income plan, the availability of other funds. And when I set up income plans for clients, ideally, one of the ways I propose, there's different ways to do it, but one I like is you do them in 5-year kind of buckets or 5-year groups of money.
Okay.
Where you have the first 5 years earmarked, say 60 payments here, and that's going to go away 5 years from now. We're going to use all that up.
Okay.
So we have to have another bucket waiting for us. And we use the guaranteed interest rates, like say annuities. And fixed annuities are paying 4% now, 4.15. So what do we have to put in an account today at 4% to have this number 5 years from now? And we do the same 10 years from now.
Sure.
So we have 3 buckets of money. The one we're going to pull for 5 years. The next one 5 years from now that we're going to go 5 years through 10.
Okay.
And then we're going to do the 10 year through 15. So we're covering 15 years of guaranteed income with no market risk.
Sure.
So our market money could sit over here, and what's happening today doesn't matter.
Right.
Because our income's coming from these safe buckets over here.
Sure.
That's one way to do it, and that's a foolproof way. The negative is your potential interest rate isn't as high as if you were in the markets, but it's guaranteed income for a 15-year period.
Right. And
what's better than that?
It doesn't cause anxiety.
It doesn't cause anxiety. If your market money or risk money over here is losing and feeling pain, so what? I mean, you could afford to let it sit, like we talked about before, 10 years, right? Long term. Even though your market money's liquid, you can get your hands on it whenever you want it. You got to be able to let it sit there, both emotionally and financially, for long term.
Sure, absolutely. Otherwise, you live on that precipice all the time.
Yeah, or people that don't have any safe money and need income, they're pulling out of negative accounts, out of accounts that are down 20% from 6 months ago.
Right. Wow. And that can really cause some problems. And listen, you can sit down with Wayne, and if you are having anxiety right now because of what's going on, he can help you put together a plan that makes sense for your family, so you don't have to have those sleepless nights, and it will make sense for your family. Your family is different than mine. It's different from your neighbors, but he helps you put together a plan that makes sense for what you are doing. You can give him a call at 866-626
3990.
3990. I'm telling you, my brain is not working today. 866-626-3990. We'll be back right after this.
A certified financial planner is a true professional, a well-rounded, holistic planner that helps you in all areas of your financial life. Estate planning, tax planning, financial planning, insurance planning. We have to sit for a 10-hour, 2-day exam, at least back when I took the test. It's not just a weekend designation where you go somewhere for a couple days, pay a couple $100, and now you have letters behind your name. One thing I think is important is that you try and find a independent certified financial planner. Somebody that doesn't work for a big firm. I myself own my company, Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. The buck stops with me, an independent, certified financial planner, one of the only ones on the north coast of Ohio.
Welcome back to today's Retirees with certified financial planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. We've been talking today about the market pullback, and really that we should have expected this. Wayne was telling us back in February that in an off-year election, off-presidential election, that this is historically what could happen.
When the market started down in January.
Okay.
Which we did this year.
So when you are there. So let's back up and let's just say that, Tom and Mary are feeling the pain now because they didn't plan with you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's step back, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. What could they have done differently, or what should they have done differently so that so they can sleep well tonight?
Well, that's a good question. So, and it doesn't have to be 5 or 10 years ago. It could have been a year ago.
Okay.
Or it could have been in February when we talked about the potential of a volatile market with a big market correction.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
But whether it was a year ago or 5 years ago, when people have plenty of cash in the bank, earning nothing. Maybe you're going to start earning something now, but that's the price of liquidity. If you want safe money and you want it liquid, you got to deal with low returns or no return, right? But even though you earn nothing here, if you have plenty of savings and you need income for a while, and you're pulling from the market that's negative 10 or 20 or 30, and you got to sell to supplement your income, you're selling at a big loss compared to a year ago.
Sure.
But if we could leave it in there and take this from this cash over here, now all of a sudden that zero interest you earned just saved you a 20 or 30% loss over here.
Sure. Okay.
So even though you're not earning anything, it serves its purpose. So people should always have plenty of cash. And then they have to have a percentage of money safe, longer term safe money, earning 2, 3, 4, 5, 6%, right? Depending on the term. Not exciting, but that money's not feeling any pain right now.
Okay.
It's not down. They're still earning. People are down 10, 20, 30. They're earning 3, 4, 5, 6 right now. So zero in cash, safe money that's a little longer term. You're going to earn those little higher rates. And then you have your risk money that's in the market, that even though that money's liquid, mentally, they got to be able to leave that long term.
Okay.
Just for times like this. They can't mess with it now. They mess with it now, as far as getting out or getting less aggressive, they're lucky if they ever get their money back, right?
Okay.
Contrary, the thing to do is get more aggressive right now. Put money in the market now. Right? If you're conservative, go moderate or go aggressive. Now's the time to do it. If you're ever thinking of doing it, you do it when the market's down.
Okay.
Right? But when you have the cash and you have some safe money and you have your risk money, the other element of that risk money is how risky they were. Were they aggressive with their risk money? Were they middle of the road or moderate? Were they conservative? So those three elements, if everything was in check, plenty of cash, plenty of safe money, and they took the right amount of risk in their market with their risk money, those people are fine right now. They're not worried about anything.
Sure.
Because they knew with their risk money the potential of loss, and that's what they're feeling now. And if it was within what they expected they could lose, they're okay with what's happening now. If any of those things are out of whack, those are the people that are having a hard time right now.
Okay. So if what I'm hearing you say is now would be a good time if you have some of that cash that is liquid and you don't have to live off of it, to invest that more aggressively.
Well, you're supposed to buy low and sell high.
Well,
we're way lower than we were, 7 to 8 months ago.
Sure.
So, yes. Not that we can't go lower. I mean, the bottom is still being tested right now. We don't know if 3,600 S&P is the bottom. It could keep going.
Sure.
So when we have pullbacks like this, health restoring pullbacks or corrections, like I said earlier, it gets the people that shouldn't be in the market out. It also brings the overvalued stocks back down in line to a fair valuation of those stocks.
Okay.
And then we do it all over again the next run.
Sure. He's got this grin on his face.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it does.
Right.
We've been doing the show a long time, and we've talked about '08 and some other pullbacks, and the average, before '08 we had pullbacks in 2000, 2001, and 2002. Right, 3 years in a row. That was a bad one. The tech bubble burst. Before that, we had pullbacks in '94. right? So about 6, 7 years before that. And then you remember Black Monday, 1987.
Right.
So that's about 7 years before 94. So 6, 7, 8 years cycles, the market has a pullback. We've just had a long run.
Yes, we
since
have.
'08, when that market came back in '09, we only felt a little blip in March 2020.
Right.
So, this is long overdue.
Right. So those folks that are sitting there and they're having that anxiety or they are looking at this or watching the program to get a hold of you to help them put together this plan. I mean, to me, it makes sense.
And for those people that aren't clients, even if they are down or they had no safe money, or it's a good time to start making a plan for when this market does rebound, right? If it's down now, I don't know if you want to get safe money now. If you were all risk and you're down 10, 20, 30%, it may not be a good idea to get money into the safe accounts now. You may want to wait till the market rebounds, but you start talking about it now. You start making the plan for it. So when the market does rebound, hopefully by the end of the year, they're ready to pull the trigger and get things where they should be. So the next time this happens, they kind of get through it easy with not as much fear or worry.
Right. And that's one of the things that Wayne does. I mean, one of his taglines in his family-focused financial planning. He's working for your family, and he helps you and your family put together a plan that makes sense so you can sleep well at night. You can take the right amount of risk for what you can do. And he said on the show before, sometimes mom or the wife has a different risk tolerance than dad does. So you have two different portfolios that are working at the same time.
Yeah, and the big thing is not to make a mistake that'll mess up your retirement.
Sure.
You retired in January and you're pulling $30,000 out of a $500,000 portfolio and it's all in the market, and now that 500 is 400 and you're pulling 30 a year out or whatever. Yeah, that's messing things up.
Sure.
So you don't ever want that kind of thing to happen. You don't want to go back to work once you retire. You don't want to change your standard of living. It's the big mistakes you want to make sure you avoid.
Absolutely. And this is what Wayne helps you do. Go to his website at todaysretirees.com, todaysretirees.com. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslyk of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Visit todaysretirees.com or call 866-626-3990 to schedule a no-cost appointment with Wayne. Today's Retirees is brought to you by Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management, family-focused retirement and tax planning services, anchored in family values. Information and opinions discussed on Today's Retirees do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station. Opinions expressed should not be substituted for individualized consultation with a qualified financial advisor. For specific information, call 866-626-3990 or visit todaysretirees.com.